Welcome back to Takeout. As you no doubt know, because you read about it, I'm sure, El Paso's International Airport reopened early yesterday morning after a baffling FAA order to close the airspace to commercial and cargo flights for 10 days. Now, it is still confusing to officials in El Paso and those who represent them and neighboring areas here in Washington. A big-time disagreement between the FAA and the Pentagon appears to lie somewhere near the center of this story. New Mexico Democratic Congressman Gabe Vasquez joins me now. His district, by the way, borders El Paso. Congressman, it's great to have you with us. So it appears there was a Customs and Border Patrol official deploying an anti-drone laser loaned to them by the Department of Defense, shooting at something, and the FAA got wind of this or was uncomfortable with this, and in court of what feels to me like a direct and emphatic bureaucratic brushback, ordered this 10-day freeze in the airspace. What is actually going on?
Well, it was complete chaos yesterday, and I think what we saw was clearly a botched operation, miscommunication at the highest levels, both from the FAA, Customs and Border Protection, and the Department of Defense. And in the process, ordered this 10-day cancellation, a temporary flight restriction. Half of the flights out of Southwest in El Paso were canceled. Medevacs from the surrounding area were canceled. And in my district in southern New Mexico, we rely on this airport to travel for medical needs, but also our economy on it. We're a huge part of the border economy down here, and so much of our commercial cargo and operations depend on that. And we seemingly got to the bottom of what happened early yesterday morning before we saw that the Trump administration and that the FAA had put out conflicting reports, official conflicting reports to the media, which left a lot of folks trying to figure out what was happening, conspiracy theories floating around. And let me just reiterate, this is both a huge mistake, but also very dangerous because an organization, an agency like the FAA is tasked with keeping passengers safe as they fly across the country. And so for them not to be transparent in this process should raise some huge alarms.
The FAA said that this was to address a cartel drone incursion and that a threat had been neutralized. Do you believe there was a threat? Do you believe anything was neutralized? And what do you consider to be truthful or untruthful about reporting ours and others that it was a party balloon?
Well, look, I represent 180 miles of the U.S.-Mexico border here in my district, and I can tell you that cartel operations and other criminal activity has brought the use of UAS and drone incursions along the U.S.-Mexico border. This is nothing new to our community. It almost happens on a daily basis. I introduced a bill in Congress to try to stop these drone flights from occurring that gather intelligence and other nefarious things. So this is fairly commonplace. Now, to your point, there was some technology that was being tested in conjunction with both CBP, the Department of Defense, but these tests had been ongoing for several days, according to the information that I got before this restriction was placed. Now, we subsequently received information from the FAA that there was a cartel drone that had been neutralized. Later, it was a party balloon. I mean, the stories just kept changing. According to information I received, there was never an immediate threat to the public. It was simply a disagreement in how to operate both civil airspace and private military airspace that where the two butted heads disagreed and made a rash decision to close the airport for 10 days. And I'll tell you this, Major, if indeed it was just a singular event, why would a 10-day closure be ordered? That makes absolutely no sense. And I think this administration needs to own up to its mistakes. There's a pattern here, and the folks deserve to know the truth.
And whatever the truth is in the conflict between the FAA and the Pentagon and Customs and Border Patrol, as I understand it, local officials were left out of it entirely and completely blindsided by this.
Nobody was notified. I mean, we're being notified that they couldn't fly out on their return flights. Passengers that weren't notified, the airlines themselves were not notified. That's dangerous. I mean, for any number of reasons, especially for folks that have serious medical conditions, perhaps going to a medical appointment outside of the city. And so it was complete chaos. Nobody was notified. Myself or Congresswoman Escobar, who represent this area, were not notified. This is no way to operate the Federal Aviation Administration. And so the incompetence, the sheer incompetence, and honestly, the sheer disregard for the people of southern New Mexico and West Texas and El Paso is really astonishing. And this shouldn't happen again. We've got to get to the bottom of this. Myself and Congresswoman Escobar are demanding a briefing on what truly happened here. But as best as I can tell, this was a mischaracterization that the FAA put out, and at worst, a cover up of their incompetence.
Internet signals fluctuate, as we all know. Congressman Gabe Vasquez, thanks for pushing through your sometimes fluttery internet connection. I appreciate the time very, very much.